I remember one day I'm at the desk and I hear God say to quit. I quit and then my car got totaled. So I was just stationary, like in my house. Like I'm like, dang, I just quit and my car just got totaled. God, you said, so you said to quit. Like, what next? What's going on?
What do you think, if you can share with us a personal story, what do you think was one of the biggest challenges that you had to face? And that thing hit you and you were like, you know what, I'm really done with this. And then eventually, you were able to get up. What was the biggest challenge?
I've had a lot of moments. So growing up, I used to draw like a lot, like OD, like I would wake up early Saturday, just draw.
Yeah.
Like get books and just draw. Coloring books, paper, just always drawing. But there was a moment when I actually just killed that gift, and I met a couple people at the school, and I guess I felt something inside of me.
Yeah.
Spark again.
Okay. Jay Watt.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
It's going good.
I'm so happy to have you here, man, for One with God, One with Purpose. This is season 2.
Okay.
I am excited to have you. You are an artist. You are many things. And welcome.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Of course.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to invite you so we can chat a little bit regarding your life, your trajectories, because I think you really have an incredible story of somebody who was in one section, in one domain, then you heard the voice of God telling you to move, to go into something else. Yeah. But before we dive deep into that, I want you to just tell us a little bit about you, man. Who is Jay? Who is Winston? So that, people that are looking at you, people that are watching you today can have an idea of who they are meeting today.
All right. So my name is Winston Watt, also known as Jay Watt. That is also my artist name. I was born in Paterson, New Jersey, to Jamaican parents. So, that's my background, Jamaican. I'm an artist. I like to do many things. I like to paint. I like to do poetry. I like to make rap songs. I like to produce. That's just a lot of stuff that I like to do.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. All of that I can put into one umbrella, artist. When did you discover that you had all these talents? And a lot of people. I remember one time I was surprisingly I was using the bathroom. It was with this dude, and then he was singing. I'm like, man, you have a nice voice. Why are you not singing? He was like, oh man, you know what? This is just not something that I want to do. I just don't want to sing.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, when it comes to you, because you are working in your gift, you are producing music, you are drawing, you are doing everything, that God has called you to do. For you to get to that point, if we have to summarize, was there like a specific moment that happened where you were like, I'm going to do this thing? Or was it like a series of events that have led you here?
It's like a million things happen, in my life, to bring me to this point. I basically came out the womb drawing. I was always, into the arts, drawing cartoons, Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that. Whatever I saw on TV, I just love to draw all the time. The new things that I'm really venturing in now is mostly because of just taking leaps of faith and expanding myself, expanding how I express myself, my emotions, different seasons. I started to learn that I actually had these gifts inside of me, just based off of like the hard seasons that I've been through. So it's still fairly new to me, but it's exciting, growing up in church, I learned a lot. Well, I never really had the opportunity to really like play music or, stuff like that. But, one day I just started playing piano. I just started teaching myself. My mom was always interested into like music and like learning instruments. And I used to always be like, what is she doing? But I always had that passion in a way, towards musical instruments. When I started to write music, the first instrument that I tried to play was the drums.
Yeah.
But then eventually when I started to write music, I was like, nah, like I can't rely on anyone else.
Yeah.
Like I have to start learning how to create melodies and learn more about, the piano. So that's what I play as well. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So even when I'm thinking about that, right? You mentioned something you said, in the church and things like that. Was there a space in the church that prepared you to actually start evolving in this gift? Because we live in a society now where people have a lot of talent, people have a lot of gifts, but
Yeah.
in the places where they are currently planted, being their church, they're not having the opportunity to actually do those things. I think we've
Yeah.
had this conversation before where people actually find themselves leaving the church to go outside to do their purpose. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? And especially, I believe that every gift that we have has to glorify God in some way, has to bring the kingdom of God down to earth.
Yeah.
How was it for you? Was that experience good? Did you have the opportunity to perform your gift at church?
It wasn't a good experience for me.
Okay.
I always felt I didn't fit in, because it's not like I wanted to dedicate time to like studying instruments. I always liked the music, but I always felt like there wasn't space for me.
Yeah.
In that area. So I didn't really get a time to really practice or grow up as a church musician.
Yeah.
So I kind of like fought for that.
Okay.
So, I mean, with my life, I always just look at the things that I go after as being kind of like a fight. I don't even know if that's the right word to say, but it felt like a fight for me.
Yeah.
Just with learning, just being able to learn. So, I don't want to like go too deep into that, but I just feel like when it comes down to learning music, especially like growing up in church or something like that, someone has to kind of invite you into it. Like, if someone sees an interest, like in a child or the youth or whatever that has an interest in music, that they should just pour into that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. You said that, you had to fight. You always look at it as a fight, man. What keeps you going? Because, when you fight, sometimes you just get tired. You're just like, yo, man, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. But what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated to go after the dreams that God has for you, to go after, the mission, all the things that God has placed in your heart? What's your motivation?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I didn't grow up playing music. But I really do enjoy music. I enjoy how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
I enjoy making music for God. Not giving up. I've given up plenty of times.
So how did you pick it up?
But I guess there's just something inside of you that just connects, to where you feel like your purpose is, and God. A lot of times I feel like even God wouldn't let me give up.
Yeah.
He would always, I would always get dreams. Like there would be moments like where I would literally give up. Like I'd be like, yo, I'm done with this. Like because of the fight or how hard it's been.
Yeah.
And then that night I would just get a dream.
Wow.
Like with me playing piano or doing something crazy. And I'll wake up and I'll be like, all right, I got to get back to it.
Yeah.
So God won't let me give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I like that. I feel like that just shows the love of God, where it's like even when we don't have the strength, He actually comes and He gives you the strength for you to keep going.
Yeah.
If you had to think about all the multiple times that, you feel like, oh man, I was like, I'm done, I'm giving up. If you had to think about any of that, right? What do you think, if you can share with us a personal story, what do you think was one of the biggest challenges that you had to face? And that thing hit you and you were like, you know what, I'm really done with this. And then eventually, you were able to get up. What was the biggest challenge?
In terms of music or just in general?
Let's say in terms of just like the artist in you. It could be, let's find the biggest of the biggest. It can be out in music, in art, in whatever. Like just like a big challenge that I guess was against those parts of you.
Well, growing up, I've had a lot of moments. So growing up, I used to draw like a lot, like OD, like I would wake up early Saturday, just draw,
Yeah.
like get books and just draw, coloring books, paper, just always drawing. But there was a moment when I actually just killed that gift because I was like, nah. Like I remember being in school and every time we had an art project, everybody would just look at me like, you already know what's up.
Yeah.
They used to come to me, it just felt, I guess at a young age, I experienced burnout.
Okay.
And I made a declaration that I'll never do art again. Like I just was like, man, I'm done. I'm done with this because I guess I felt used.
Wow.
I felt like that part of me was being, even at a young age, exploited. You know what I mean? Like it felt weird. And I just was like, nah, like I don't like that feeling. And I wasn't experiencing the joy in the gift anymore. So I just cut it off for years. But when you cut off something that's a part of you, you're not gonna feel completely whole.
That's good. Yeah.
And God won't let you give it up either. Like, so over the years, God will just consistently fight for you and fight for you to accept who He's called you to be.
Yeah.
So I think majority of my life is just accepting who God made me to be.
Yeah.
And just discovering more about myself and like how He created me to be. So this whole journey is just me discovering and accepting what God has already placed inside of me.
So when you give up the drawing part, how did you pick it back up?
Like I said, God wouldn't let me give up. So God uses people too.
Yeah.
And in this case, so I stopped drawing when I was like 10. I stopped drawing when I was like 10. And then I started to create the idea that I wanted to be an athlete, like a football player, or one day get to the NFL, like get money.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was going to high school. So this is like how many years later? Like 4 or 5 years. I was set on going to a particular high school that specialized in sports, and I was ready to go.
Yeah.
And this is when my mom was in her era of like substitute teaching, and she visited a school for the fine and performing arts.
Yeah.
And every day she would come home and start telling me like, yo, you got to go to the school. You got to go to the school. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Because now she's touching a sensitive area
right.
of something that I killed already. And she's like, give it a try. Just give it a try. You always used to draw. And I'm like, nah, it's not for me. Like, I know what I want. And at that time, I thought I knew what I wanted. But I guess she can see that there was something that, the gift that I had.
Yeah.
And eventually, I had to give it a try again. And I was like, all right, what do you got to do to get into this school? I'm just going to do this just to please you.
Yeah.
And so I did the portfolio. It felt weird because it was like drawing again and doing a portfolio. And then you imagine like going on an interview. Somebody's like, oh, like, do you love art? They're asking these questions and you're like, yo, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And eventually I got accepted into the school and I was like, yeah, I'm not going.
Oh, wow.
And then something happened. I forgot what happened. I think she just really convinced me to go. Yeah. And I met a couple people at the school. I was like, yeah, come through. We'll see you next year. They really like created that environment for me. And I guess I felt something inside of me.
Yeah.
Spark again.
Okay. Man, that's so good. I like how God can use people. It's not just yourself trying to do something, but God can actually move different pieces around to allow you to go back into your destiny. And when I'm talking about all of this, man, I think one of the core of this podcast, I really want to be able to inspire people to keep going, to keep pushing, regardless of the difficulties, the challenges that may arrive. Has your faith ever been tested? Have you ever been in a place where you were like, I don't know, God, you gotta come through. I don't know if I believe in this thing. As your faith has ever been, because I think even last Thursday I was talking about faith, and it was even something new for me to understand that the difference between faith and belief is like belief a lot of time has to do with something tangible that we can see, like an idea, like something that has convinced us, like a personal ideology, or we've come to agreement with. While faith can be blind. Faith is, even if you don't see, you still believe. Has that faith ever been tested? Can you share a moment that you were like, God, I don't know, and then eventually he came through to prove you that, yes, I'm still here?
All the time. And I was just about to go on a big interview for a job that I was applying for, and God said, leave that industry, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I questioned it for weeks.
Wow.
And like pretty much every day, like I would wake up and see on social media, quit your career and go do this, do that. And it was just consistent, like after that. And, can you imagine just, like my family is like hardworking. Like my dad is always working. My mom's always working. So I'm always working. And then, to quit and not know where you're going.
Wow.
So it's like your faith is tested.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I gotta be bugging. I must be hearing things, seeing things. I'm probably convincing myself that I gotta quit. So eventually I get on this interview and I'm doing really good. And then I heard God say, if you continue this path, you're gonna get the job, but you're gonna waste time for the next 3 years.
Wow.
I'm like, damn. Because this job was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But I'd rather give it all and, go after whatever he had for me. Yeah. So I ended up quitting. And my faith was tested. Yeah. After probably like a day or two, I got in a huge car accident.
Wow. So
my car got totaled.
Back.
Yeah. So I quit and then my car got totaled. So I was just stationary, like in my house. Like I'm like, dang, I just quit and my car just got totaled. God, you said, you said to quit. Like, what next? What's going on? And of course that season was tested, really tested for me. But eventually, things turned around.
Yeah. Man, when you are talking about all of this, man, who is Jesus to you? When you think about Jesus, because somebody out there, we both know that Jesus is God, but I feel like there are many depths that God reveal us of himself.
Yeah.
Who is Jesus to you?
I like that you asked that, because it reminds me of that time. And in that time, in that season, we know we know Jesus as everything, as God, as just, Jesus, like, but I think in that season, he revealed to me like that he was my friend.
Yeah.
And that was crazy, because I felt like in that season, I didn't really have many friends or people around me, really to push me through that season or just be there. It was really like just me and God, like me and Jesus, like every day. Like I was learning different things, like really conversing with Jesus, like on a different level or a different, in a different way. Like it literally felt like a friend, like I had a friend with me. And I think that sustained me a lot,
Man,
just learning more about him in that way.
I love that. And then one of the things that we've always shared that we laugh about is how people just come up to you and start asking you questions and stuff like that. And I feel like that says a lot about even the gift of evangelism that God has given you. Like a lot of people today, they hear about the mandate to go to the air, make disciples of all nations, man. How does that look like to you? Because I have realized that in the church, there's also this stigma where it's necessarily you have to go on the street
Yeah.
and look at that guy, tell them they're dying from their sin. But not everybody is at that level.
Yeah.
When you think about evangelism, how does that work for you? How do you get to share the gospel with other people?
Well, in the Bible, it talks about, your life being a letter.
Yeah.
And I feel like I try my hardest to live that way, like not only as a Christian, but as a real human being,
Yeah.
So like, I feel like I can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And a lot of times you got to understand like what God is calling you to do.
Yeah.
And how he calls you how to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I sow a lot of seeds just by relationships with people, or just being me.
Yeah.
And I feel like eventually, sometimes people just eventually come to me and be like, yo, tell me about Jesus,
Yeah.
and I've always find that pretty interesting because I just be me.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I love that, man. And then, our faith, even though, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, of things we have not seen. When we talk about faith, and then I think even when it comes to praising God, a lot of time, the word praise in itself, it really has to do with like the hand of God. When we see the hand of God, we praise him. But now I don't want to talk about the hand of God in terms of him necessarily come to save you from something. But I want to talk about the hand of God in terms of him revealing himself to you. Has there ever been like a supernatural experience that has happened to you, and then at that moment you're like, nah, this had to be God. It could not have been anything else or somebody else or something else?
There's a lot.
think about one thing right now that somebody is going to watch it and be like, I'm believing this Jesus today.
I think this is good. So one day I was on my way to work.
Yeah.
I was driving in a car or whatever. And it was a typical day for me. And I was crossing an intersection, and then a car came out of nowhere.
Wow.
I hit the back of the car, and that car ended up flipping upside down. And I'm like, when I'm seeing this, I'm like, no, but I always think about like, if I was like, just a little bit more out, I would have gotten hit, and I would have been dead probably.
Wow.
With how fast he was going, or, for him to flip, you're just like to process that moment. It's just like, yo, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I felt like Superman in that moment. I felt like God gave me supernatural strength because I came out of my car. I ran to him. I ran to the car. And I was like, yo, like my brain was going crazy. And I was like, yo, I gotta save him. Like, I don't know. I don't know why I felt like that. I was like, yo, I gotta save him. He's hanging upside down. I unbuckled the seatbelt, and then I like held the person, and I like laid him on the ground. And I'm like, why did I do that?
This sounds like a movie. Yeah.
But in that moment, I just knew, God is, whatever happened or transpired, I know that God was like there,
Man, I love that. Jay, as we are landing, I wanted to ask you a question, man. After, you have done your stay here on earth, and, like people have experienced you've put out your albums, your books, your everything. What do you want to be remembered as? What do you want to be remembered by when people are thinking about Winston Watt? What do you want them to remember?
I feel like, I don't know. There's a lot to say.
Yeah.
I feel like, I want my life to just be an example or like a testimony or like a miracle. Like a miracle.
Yeah.
Like whatever I accomplish, I want it to be like, yo, if he can do that, I know there's a God.
Yeah.
Just something like that. I just feel like personally that my life is like an example that God wants to do something.
Yeah.
And I feel like creativity is an avenue for me that he's given me. You know, it may not be perfect, but every day, like, I feel like I'm striving, you know, to become, I feel like it's a higher calling, you know, that he has for me, and just stewarding this time. I want people to see that, you know, you don't have to have it all together.
Yeah.
At first, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be perfect. You know, you're perfect the way you are. Yeah. And I feel like at the end of it all, like, I want people to be like, you know, he gave his all.
Yeah.
You know, he gave his all for God, for people, friends, family. That's what I want to be remembered for.
And
just giving my all.
I love that. Give your all. And my very last question to you, man, is if you had to look at younger Jay and give him an advice, man, what would you tell Jay that you think that if you knew sooner, things could have been a little bit different? What would you tell younger Jay?
Just to rest.
Wow.
Relax. You know, it's not that serious. It's not that deep. I growing up, I put a lot of pressure on myself to become something.
Yeah.
You know, to accomplish things. I put a lot of stress on myself, and I feel like just rest and enjoy. Enjoy, like, who you're becoming. Yeah. Enjoy the gifts that God has given you. Yeah. And never throw it away. You know, value it.
Never throw it away.
Never throw it away, and to value it. Yeah. You know, if God gave it to you, it's worth something.
Yeah. Man, I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming here, Jay Watt.
Of course.
I hope you guys enjoyed this interview today. It will be on YouTube, Wonder God TV. And, man, I can't wait for you to come next time so we can talk about the prophetic.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a dope thing.
I can't wait to be back.
All right.
All right, man.
Hey, guys. I hope everybody's been really enjoying these interviews, these videos of people really sharing their heart regarding what God has done for them and how God is leading them to purpose. I encourage you to like, subscribe, share with a friend. Let us know in the comments if this has been helping you. And I can't wait to bring the next person in so we can hear what God has been doing in their life.